COVPE for Speakerpreneur Toastmasters, Area 42 Governor, and a member of Improv Masters Toastmasters. Yolanda is the founder and CEO of Bryant Consulting and LW Media Group and provides literary, publishing, social media, and marketing consulting and services. She is the founder of Sweethearts of the Triad, as well as an accomplished freelance writer and author. So let's welcome back Ms. Yolanda Johnson-Bryant.
Hello, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me back again. Nice to be invited back. That must mean that I had my manners in check the first time I came, so thank you for inviting me back. Today I'm going to talk about how Toastmasters can save your life and save your business. I want to tell you a story about a young girl or young lady. She lived in Denver, Colorado, and she was very successful in business, and she stumbled upon a temporary job at one of the world's largest brokerage firms. She got on in a temporary position, being a quoter. A quoter is a person that sits on the phone all day, and people call in and ask what stocks are trading at, bonds and everything. And she did this all day. So her team manager approached her and said, why don't you apply for the position for full-time permanent? And we will sponsor your Series 7 and Series 63 exams. So she took up on her offer. She was fearless. She wanted to take the world by the shoestrings and go for it. And she went for it and she passed. And she became a successful stockbroker. She had confidence, she was making good money, she was married, she had 2 children, everything was going well for her. So in the midst of making money, she got too busy to do anything else. She had confidence, she was able to speak to her clients in a very good manner, professional manner, and she was able to persuade them to take money that they had elsewhere and bring it over to this brokerage firm. And she was able to persuade people who were skeptical about investing in the first place, bring millions of their dollars into the company. She was a highly successful stockbroker and one of the top in the firm for the Denver area. Flash forward to May of 2006. Now, a year prior to this young lady was diagnosed with diabetes. Had never had any health issues in her life, but she failed to research her family background, health history. So she thought, I'm thin, I can eat what I want to, I can do whatever I want, I'm healthy, I don't have to worry about it. I can take on the world, I don't have to rest, I can keep going, I have all this energy. May of 2006, she suffered a stroke. After she suffered the stroke, she had speech problems. She had to go see a speech therapist, and her confidence went completely down. She could no longer talk to people. She could no longer relate what she was saying to people in a way that they understood. It was confusing. She babbled a lot. She stuttered a lot. And sometimes she would talk, and it was like she swallowed her tongue. She was about to check out of life because she was so used to being able to communicate with people. She got depressed, and finally, other problems started to happen. Her doctor finally told her, look, if you don't get back into the real world and go back to your speech therapist, get your confidence back out, and get back out to the person that you used to be, you're going to die within a year. Well, of course, she thought he was exaggerating, but she didn't want to find out the hard way. And in case you haven't realized, that person was me. I used to be able to communicate anything to anyone. I used to be able to resolve problems. If 2 people were fighting in the street, I could get in front of them and pray I don't get hit, but have them talk it out and figure out why they were fighting in the first place. And they realized it was really stupid and so on. So I was able to, again, have people give me their money and invest it and actually trust me with it. I had clients call me and tell me their personal problems, which I really didn't want to hear, but I kept it neutral, gave them solutions, and they actually worked. So I was very confident, walked with my head up, and people used to always say, you know, if you keep walking with your head up, you're not going to see what's in front of you, and you're going to walk into something. And I just couldn't walk like this. I always walk with my head up. I had confidence. But after I had my stroke, which mind you was after my second heart attack, my confidence was totally gone. I'd stand in this room right now, I would just start crying and just run out because I couldn't talk the way I used to. I would go into work. I worked for HSBC Bank, which is one of the largest banks in the world, and I would walk in to the call center and say good morning and begin to talk to my customers, and my boss would have to get me off the phone and say, okay, you need to go take a break, take a deep breath, and rest. Because as I'm talking, my clients are like, what are you saying? I knew what my mind was thinking, but my mouth was not relaying the same thing. And I went into a deep depression. I went out on short-term disability, and my doctor said, look, you've got to get it together. He said, depression and diabetes do not mix. He said, people do die from that. He said, I have case studies. And I started getting more and more serious about it. Flash forward to 2007. My wonderful husband, at the time was my fiance, flew down to Dallas, Texas, which is where I was living at the time, and asked me to marry him. I did, and reluctantly I sold my house and everything, and I moved here to Greensboro. I was at a woman's conference in November of 2009, and I met someone by the name of Kathy Daniels-Lee. You all know her. She used to work for the Nussbaum Center of Entrepreneurship. And she said, you know, we have Toastmasters at our building, and maybe you should check it out. Now, I've always wanted to join Toastmasters, even when I was a stockbroker, and our company sponsored the Toastmasters group, but I was so busy getting people to give me their money that I didn't have time for it. I mean, I would work like 12, 14-hour days because I loved it. When you do something that you love, you put everything into it. So I didn't have time for that, to do that, because I also had to take care of my family. Well, I finally walked into Toastmasters group, Speakerpreneur Toastmasters, on March 2010. And I sat down, and at first I was very nervous, and I started watching the people, and I'm thinking, okay, I want to get out and run and leave, because I'm like, okay, I saw an experienced speaker. I'm like, there is no way I can live up to that, and they're going to want me to get up there and say something. And I'm kind of like the new person in church. You know, they always tell you, visitors, please stand up, and you're like, please don't, you know. And that's how I was. Well, the next person that got up after the experienced speaker was a little less experienced, but they exuded the same confidence that the person that was experienced did. And I thought, And everyone applauded each one the same way. They made me feel welcome and comfortable. So I said, maybe there's something to this. So the next meeting they had, then we were meeting every Thursday. I came in with my check in hand, and I joined. Now, usually, and if anyone knows Cindy Martin, she'll tell her story that it took her, I think she says almost 3 years, I think it was 3 years, to get her first award, which is her Company Communicator. And I thought, wow, if I can do it like Cindy, Cindy is a mentor, look up to Cindy, I can do it. I got my CC within a year and a half. I got my CL within a year and a half. And I just jumped in and I started giving my speeches, and my confidence just went through the roof. Now, I was still a little, rough on the edges, but from when I first started Toastmasters to where I am now, I can see at least an 85% improvement, and that's really, really big. Occasionally, I'll see myself starting to step back because sometimes these symptoms from the stroke do tend to step in there, so I have to make sure I'm on top of that. But I feel a lot more confident because if you had gotten me in this area, in this even a small amount of people about 2 years ago, I would have said, no, I can't do it, and I would have walked, you guys would have come in and I would have walked right out the door. But it has to be done. I'm exuding more confidence than I was before, and that is how Toastmasters saved my life. Now, how did Toastmasters save my business? Well, as I mentioned, I couldn't communicate with my clients. Now, I've always had my business since I was, since 1996. But on top of working my business, I also worked in corporate America. So it was like a part-time thing. But because I had the stroke, I couldn't no longer relate to my clients. So when people would call me for work, I would be like, I'm not accepting clients right now because I didn't know how to communicate with them. Now, not only did that help me lose clients, I started losing money. I'm like, okay, I like making money a lot. I mean, who doesn't? So, something's wrong here. There are things that I need to do. Wanted to put my kids through college, and I have to do this, I have to do that, and I have to save for this, and I have to save for that. And then, after I joined Toastmasters, I started building, like I said, my confidence up again. I started taking on more clients. And I have to say the year 2012 was probably my most lucrative year in the history of my business. I'm out more talking to people. I'm out more networking with people. I'm out giving more workshops, more classes, doing speaking events like this. I'm mentoring people. And as Tanya said in the introduction, I am the Vice President of Education for Newer Toastmasters. I'm the former Vice President of Education for Improv Masters Toastmasters, and I've also just been elected the Area 42 Governor. And that takes a lot because you have to be in front of people constantly. Now, that's how it saved my business, because if it had not been for Toastmasters and me building my confidence back up to speak again, I'd be standing before you unemployed. Because I will say, when I first got to Greensboro, I had a job. Luckily, I knew somebody who knew somebody before I got here, and I got a job. But it wasn't for me, and again, if you're not happy with what you're doing, you're going to try to do your best, but you're not going to do your best because you're not going to be happy. And that's going to exude to other people, and they're going to see that you're not happy. And I think I worked that job for a year before I just gave my 2 weeks notice. And they're like, please stay. I stayed for another 2 months, gave another 2 weeks notice. And then finally, they're like, well, please stay. You're such a good asset to the company. And I'm like, look, I could be honest with you. I am really not happy here. I mean, I'll do a good job while I'm here, but I'm not happy here. And there's going to be a time when I'm just going to get up and walk out of here, and that's not something that I do. And so I finally put another 2 weeks notice in, and they accepted it. So I left work, and then I started networking, trying to build up my client base in Greensboro, because about 75% of my clients are in other states. So I said, okay, I'm in Greensboro. I'm going to be here for a while, so let me build up a client base. So I started going out, talking to people, networking, other events that I wouldn't have normally gone to, like the network mixers and so on. I've never been a club person. So I wasn't that person in the club with all the crowded people sitting around drinking drinks. That's just not my scene. But sometimes in networking events, you have to go and mingle with people in order to meet new people. We all know that Greensboro is really a small city. Every last one of you, I may not know your names. I've seen you somewhere in Greensboro at some event. So it's right, it's a small city. So, but you still have to build up your client base, and by knowing people, they know people who know people that may need your services. Nashaki here, for example, an events coordinator. I may decide to renew my vows and want to have a wedding out in one of the parks, and I may call on her, but I know her, or I know someone that may want one, and I can refer them to her. Susan's a life coach. Someone may be having problems in their life that, unfortunately, even though I try to do everything, I just can't handle right now. So I'll send them to Susan. But because of that, Toastmasters has made that possible for me. And am I saying that you can't do it without Toastmasters? I'm not saying that at all. That just happened to be the vehicle that I used, or the vehicle that God brought to me to use to say, okay, you need to get off your butt, or else I'm taking you, or I'm coming for you. And you have so much more left to do. So I used it. Now, when people ask me, first of all, I'm surprised that people ask me, what is Toastmasters? When I hear people ask me that, I'm like, are you serious? Who doesn't know what Toastmasters is? But you'll be surprised how many people don't know what Toastmasters is. Toastmasters is more than an organization where you go and just give speeches. Toastmasters teaches you how to be a better speaker. And I wish I had a video to show you my very first speech that I used with notes. I would not let go of the lectern, and I was so nervous, and after my speech I went in the bathroom and I cried. But it has helped me with better speaking skills. It has helped me with better listening skills. It has helped me to think a lot, because being confident sometimes you kind of just say what your mind is thinking, because you can say things and people respect you and they'll accept it. That's not true. So now I find myself thinking before I speak. My husband always tells me, you know what, babe, you don't have to always say what you're thinking. And it's so funny, I'm going to actually write a book about that. And but it helps me think before I speak, and it helps me process things, and it actually helps me listen to what people are saying, because how many of us know those people who you're talking and they're not really listening to what you're saying? They're trying to process what their next response is going to be when they should really be listening. So I've learned that, and I've learned communication skills all over again, which helps at home with the husband. So telling him, "Oh, shut up," okay, honey, yes, dear, So it helps with that, and it also helps me with leadership skills. Now, when I was working for the brokerage firm, I was one of the top brokers, but when they asked me to take on the supervisor position, there was no way. They're not going to listen to me. I can't lead people, and even when I got here, they asked me to be a lead. And I just feel like, okay, that's not something I can do. Now with Toastmasters, I feel like that's something that I can do, and I actually have done it to be a leader of people and be a mentor to people that are in Toastmasters, outside of Toastmasters. I'm actually a mentor for the New Choices program here at the Women's Resource Center. So they kind of help me do that, whereas I wouldn't be able to do that before. Now also, it's good that it teaches me to give speeches, because people can get up and ramble, and I get up and ramble sometimes. We all do, especially when we have 20, 25 minutes to fill, and we have, but we tend to ramble. But if we have a prepared speech, it teaches me how to do that without using notes. Some people will get up and they'll use notes, and they're constantly flipping their note charts and things like that. And that can be really distracting to your audience. You want to be able to get up here and speak without notes and know actually what you're talking about. And that has actually helped me with doing that. Now, another thing that it helps me with is we have contests. So if you're the kind of person who, okay, this is fine. You have a group of people here. Let's say there's about 12 of us here. I can do a humorous speech in front of you guys, and I would feel safe. Well, Toastmasters challenges you to go beyond that. We are having our club humorous speech and evaluation speech contest on the 13th. The winner of that will go from our club, which is about 13 people, and actually 16 people, and we will go to the area level, which is about 50 people. If you win that, you go to the division area, which is about 150 people. If you win that, you go to the district, which is about 700 people. And if you win that, you go to the international contest, which is about 6,000 or 7,000 people. So it prepares you to speak in front of small crowds and large crowds. Now, I often got confused. People will tell me, oh, I can speak better in front of a larger crowd than I can a smaller crowd. I don't understand that. Here you feel safe and you know people. In a larger crowd, you have all these people looking at you like, who is this person? What is she talking about? And I really want to hear what she has to say. And you're looking at all these faces, and you're trying not to look at the ceiling. You're trying to make connections here. So it teaches you how to do that. It teaches you, again, leadership skills in your business. If you work for someone and you want to go up for that promotion, we all know that jobs are scarce right now. You have to show the boss that you can do a little bit more than what you're doing right now. So you may want to take on a supervisor position. You have to show that you can do that. That prepares you for that as well. Most of our group members are entrepreneurs. It gives you the skills, it gives you the confidence, and the assistance to go out and start your own business. Some of the tools it takes to start your own business. So Toastmasters is a lot more than just getting up giving speeches. There's so many components and so many challenges to it, and it's not just confined to your club. There are different clubs that you visit. There are different events that we have. We have fall conference, a spring conference. We have training twice a year. So there's a lot more to it than giving speeches. And that's how Toastmasters saved my business, because it gave me the confidence to go back out and talk to clients and show them that I am an expert in my field, but I have to relate that to them. If you're not sure that you are, if you're not coming across them that you're sure that you're an expert, they're going to be like, okay, I'm not sure about this person. So you want to exude confidence that you know what you're talking about. So with that being said, that is how Speakerpreneur Toastmasters and Toastmasters International has saved my life and saved my business. And I challenge you to find a Toastmasters group near you, preferably ours. Speakerpreneur Toastmasters, speakerpreneur.org. But find anyone near you and just go visit. You don't have to join. Just visit different groups and see which one is right for you. There are some that meet on the weekends, some that meet in the morning, afternoon, evening, different days of the week. So find one that fits you and see if you like it. And I encourage you to join. Oh, sorry. A question. I'm sorry.
Where is your Toastmasters? Where and when does it meet?
We meet at the Nussbaum Center. We know that it's moved to South Elm Eugene Street, 1451 South Elm Eugene Street. We meet every second and fourth Thursday from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m.
It's a great club.
Mm-hmm. Is it? Mm-hmm. That might be a good time for me. Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to just say, Yolanda, I've known you for a while, and I've never known that part. I would have never known that you've gone through that, because I've always, in certain settings heard you speak, and I've always been very impressed with how you speak. So, I mean, you're just a great walking testimony, to go through what you've gone through and now be able to just speak so, eloquently like you do. So I just wanted to say I'm inspired. You really inspire me today, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you
for being here.
And that's actually, you met me after Toastmasters. Now, had you met me before?
Okay.
Like, who is this crazy lady? But thank you very much. Any more questions? Yes.
I'm a big proponent of Toastmasters, and we have corporate people who do presentations for us all the time, and it makes me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I will call them back afterwards and say, look, I don't know if you've heard of this organization. You need to go. Because once you go, you're an addict.
You are.
You're addicted to it. It's something, I don't go as often as I should. I'm not as active as I used to be. But I remember that first speech, it took me a year to do it. And then I got everything done in 6 months.
All right.
So it's one of those things you really need to do it.
Yes, you do.
You really need to do it.
And she is right. It's addicting to people that are committed to it. I got into it, and I just went the floor running, and I ended up actually burning myself out, because not only was I the Vice President of Education for 2 groups, I was also the registration chair, also the Assistant Division Governor of PR, on top of everything else that I did, and then being a member and a mentor, so I kind of got burned out. So I went from like 7 roles to about 4 now. So, any more questions? Yes.
I'll just add to what you said. I'm actually in the club with Yolanda. So she's not my formal mentor, but in a way she is my role model. She's like Madam Toastmaster of this area, at least. And I have a lot of respect for you. And her speeches are fantastic. They are. She's funny, just total package. And it's, I mean, that's one reason why I said too, it's a great group. Every group has a different feel. And I kind of stepped into knowing what it is and not knowing what it is. A lot of people, it's almost got the same feel as somebody saying Amway, or it's this old product that you think, God, what am I stepping into?
Right.
But it's so much more than your basic professional personal development. And that group has I think because it's a group of entrepreneurs, everybody has a story of challenges and moving forward, and there's a real strong feeling of just helping each other move forward. It's very encouraging, but also strategic. It's not just fluffy. It's like you said, you really start noticing how you speak, how you communicate, all the uhs and ahs.
I think one of the people that helped me, I have always admired the way this gentleman speaks, and when he walks in a room, when he's on a stage, you are immediately drawn to him. Bill Clinton is one of the best speakers I've ever seen. And I've seen him speak, and I was like, how in the hell does he engage everybody in the room? Everybody. He feels like he's talking specifically to you. And he's on a stage in front of 1,000 people. That's what you try to learn in Toastmasters, and that's what they teach you.
Exactly.
Can I ask her to share one more thing?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
Like a minute.
I just need to know which
Can you-
Thursdays.
Second and fourth, 12 to 1:15.
Yeah, we all need work.
Can you give everybody just a glimpse of what a Table Topics is and how that might help us with our businesses?
Table Topics is when you were asked at the spur of the moment to give a 1 to 2 minute spew on something that's given to you random. So someone will call you up, the Table Topics master usually, and say, you are the color pink, you are crayon. Tell us what you're going to draw and how are you going to draw it. And the purpose of that is, and it can be that simple or even more drastic. You're the President of the United States and you have to make a speech on nuclear weapons. What are you going to say? The purpose of that is, you may be in a corporation where your boss may say, okay, we got the owner of the company or the CEO coming. You need you to give a speech on customer service in 15 minutes, a 15-minute long speech. You have to know off the cuff what to say. That's why you always are preparing, and I always tell people to keep something in their back pocket so they can use and kind of tailor to, you know, a lot of things. I have a speech, it's called a squirrel speech, and Susan has heard one of the versions of the squirrel speech. But I kind of tailor it to different speeches that I'm doing in case someone says, okay, I need you to do this. Okay, how can I take my squirrel speech and work it around? And that's how I do it. Also in your business, if you're called, let's say we're sitting here right now, and Lucy would say, I like the way you spoke at the meeting this morning. At 12 o'clock, we have a group of ladies that would love to hear a speech from you. Well, I have you prepared. That's why it's off the cuff. So you come up with something real quick. And that helps you come up with something real quick because the person doesn't tell you until right before they ask you to come up and speak what the topic is going to be about. So you don't have time to sit there and say, okay, what am I going to say? You have to just give the speech. So that helps.
Yeah, and you also learn from watching other people. Like the first time I went up, I thought, God, I got to answer this question. I got to answer it just right. But then I watched, I think it was Will Hall, our president at the time, come up and he just diverted the question. It was, well, Sherry, let's not get bogged down on that right now. I'll give you an answer within 24 hours. And I thought, God, that's nice. I don't really have to answer this.
You might not know anything about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's so helpful.
Exactly.
Or, you know, I don't really care if I find a bag of money on the sidewalk. I'm not into money. And then you get into, I'm not into money. So it's very helpful.
Exactly. And the Table Topics doesn't always have to be the truth. We do have tall tales. So like she used the bag of money, you can say, well, I'm not really interested in finding a bag of money, but I'll tell you what I am interested in, and you can go from there. So you can kind of work it to your advantage. Because sometimes they are they stump you a little bit, like, And so you do a rebuttal question, and then you go off on your own little tangent. So, yeah.
That's good.
Is there a website, would you just go to Toastmasters.com to find all the different chapters and when they meet?
If you go to Toastmasters.org.
.org.
Yes. But I think if you put .com, it'll take you directly to .org.
Okay.
And you put,
/ Greensboro or something?
no, just if you, when you go to Toastmasters.com or .org on the left-hand side, if you put in your zip code, it'll ask you if you want to find the clubs within a 50-mile radius, 25 minutes. It'll bring up all the clubs. But our website is speakerpreneur.org.
Is what?
Speakerpreneur.org.
Speakerpreneur.
It's the weirdest title, just any of them in this area.
Yeah,
Right.
just have to just spew it, not think about it.
Chapter 331.
Used to be at Syngenta and,
Okay.
So we're speakers and we're entrepreneurs, so it's Speakerpreneur.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. Okay, so no pressure on these 30-second commercials.